My name is Lindsay and this is Waldorf Inspired Roots. So today's video is going to be a curriculum choice video. Now I actually took a little bit of a break from doing these types of videos because I felt like my channel was curriculum choice for a while. And they're a little tedious to make because there's so much that goes into them as far as things that I'm sharing. So I did need a little bit of a break, so I apologize for that. But I'm almost finished with them. I actually only have 2 videos left to do. Today's video is going to be about all of his electives. So far the videos I've put out have been about one subject, and it was mostly all the things that are going to be his main lessons. Now, if you're new to my channel or if you're unfamiliar with the Waldorf philosophy and how it works, typically you do one subject for a period of 3 to 6 weeks and you're able to delve deep into it. And so, you do it for a couple hours a day or, depending on what you're teaching that day. So all of the main lesson blocks that the videos that I've already put together have been all the core subjects like geometry he'll be doing next year, and creative writing and American history. There's actually several blocks because we're breaking that one up because that's a huge thing. Chemistry, things like that. So the way his day works is first thing in the morning he does his daily work, which is in his morning basket, and then midday he does his main lesson. And then after that, he does something within his electives or the arts. So even though his main lesson blocks he's doing for 3 to 6 weeks, and he, delves in deep with that, the electives are a little bit different. We do those on a rotation schedule. So after his main lesson time, he would do whatever elective we have scheduled for that day of the week. So for example, I don't know if you can see this back behind me, but this has our daily rhythm for the preschool and for my high schooler. And then it has the weekly rhythm for the preschool and for Mikey. Now for the preschool, for example, Mondays are for painting, Tuesdays are for gardening, Wednesdays my older son does co-op and we don't have preschool, but we go to the farm, so that's included on there. Thursdays are for handwork and modeling, and Fridays are for baking or crafts. So that's kind of an example of how Waldorf sort of incorporates, the arts or electives into the week within a rhythm. So we are trying to kind of stick with that for my older son for his electives. He is going to be doing a couple things on a rotation. Now, one of the things he did this year, and it was actually in his morning basket, so these might be included in that as well because it'll be the same for this year, but one day a week he'll work on drawing, and we are going to be using The Good and the Beautiful for, they have vintage images, and that's their drawing program. And I will kind of flip through. This is level 3. I also have level 4 here, and I also have level 5, and he's already done the previous levels for drawing this year, but I will just kind of flip through. So there's a ton of things to draw. It also tells you at the beginning what materials are needed. So you go through and it tells you the steps. So in this one, you're making a clock, and it starts with, the outline, and then it adds steps for each one. And so it's very beautiful and simple, yet it teaches different skills. And so this is this book, and you can see that they, progressively get harder the further along you go. And the skills needed, are more and more with each. Now, when you get to the other books, I'll just kind of show you a couple of the pages in those. But again, as you could tell, the detail gets much greater, and there's a lot more that goes into it. And so he should probably finish all 3 of these this upcoming year, but if he doesn't, we'll carry whatever he doesn't finish over into the following year. But this is how many they have. I believe level 5 is the last drawing book that they have. But here's some more, and then I will show you this last one really quick. and I can link them below. We use them for a few things, mostly science, handwriting, and drawing, but we do like the Good and the Beautiful for those. So as you can tell, they're getting way more complex, much more detail, but I like that they're very wholesome images and you know, I kind of like the vintagey look. He really enjoys this. It's actually his favorite subject that he does. So that's that. So this drawing will be one of his days. And then I did want to show you for Easter, he got a drawing set with a bunch of pencils and the rubbers and charcoal pencils and things. So he'll be using this. And then we just use a sketchbook. And I believe his sketchbook is by Strathmore. And I don't have that here, but I can put that in the description box below. I'm having issues with linking things, so look in the description box. If I'm able to link it, I absolutely will. But if I'm not, I'll at least put in the description all these things so that you can find it. But the next thing that he'll be doing is painting. Now, we're relatively new to the Waldorf philosophy. And so he hasn't done a lot of the, what would be considered traditional teaching or whatever for the arts with Waldorf. But I did go ahead and pick up this book that I personally think you can use with any age group. It's called Color Dynamics. A lot of Waldorf teachers use this, but it's a workbook for watercolor painting and color theory. Now, the thing that I love about it is that it starts very easy, and if you have a child like, you know, like mine, who wasn't really exposed to it when he did public school for the first, you know, K through 5, and then he went back for a very small amount of time, I believe in 6th grade or 7th grade, I forget. And then we pulled him again because he just wasn't thriving there and wasn't finding a joy in learning anymore, which to me is something that is invaluable. You need to love learning, you know, or have passion for learning, in my opinion. And I could do a whole video actually on why we decided to homeschool. If anybody's interested, please, you know, leave feedback in the comment section, and I would love to make that for you if you would want to see that. But anyways, so for painting, it goes through a bunch of things within the introduction and tells you, you know, what certain things are. It talks about wet on wet, wet on dry, veil or layer painting, the different types, and then it starts out so simple. It starts out with one color, just yellow, and it goes through an array of hues of yellow, and also how to play around with those and how to create white space using one color. And so you do quite a bit with one color, which I think is brilliant. And so you can see all the different things that they make with just one color. So you spend a little bit of time working with that, and then you move on to another color, which is blue, and you work with the different hues, kind of doing the same thing. And then you move into red and the different hues and things you can do with red. And then you begin blending those colors to form tertiary colors. And it does talk about, secondary colors, to form secondary colors. And so it goes into green, mixing yellow and blue, and it shows all the different things that you can do that. And then, you know, we've got orange, and then purple, and then I think it gets into tertiary colors. Basically, once you've completed, you know, the teaching of the mixing of the primary colors to make secondary colors, then you can mix secondary colors and things to make the tertiary colors, and it shows how to do that. And so it just gets more and more complex. Now, another thing that I wanted to include with this painting unit is discovering great artists, and this is hands-on experiences in the styles of great masters. It'll introduce you to an artist. It'll show you some of their work. It'll tell you some history about them, and then it has a hands-on activity, and this is for every single page. So I'll flip it this way. So here we've got another one with their art. And so this has some sculpting, painting, drawing, several different mediums. But this is going to be a great addition just to kind of really do a lot of art history and just to kind of enrich his arts, program a little bit more. So that's the two things we're doing with that. I do also have two other things that I use with the preschool kids, but it'll work fine for him as well. And one of them is Usborne famous paintings. And this could be something we use to warm up or just to kind of discuss. But it does have famous paintings on here, on each card. So this one, for example, is the Mona Lisa. And then on the back, it says who painted it, when, where, what is it made of, where can I see it? A little description or fun facts. It has something to notice and a did you know section. And it has that for a bunch of, different paintings, famous paintings. I believe some of these are upside down, so I apologize, actually. So here's some of these. Yep, they're kind of all different ways, actually. But yeah, so we've got just a bunch of different cards. So we'll probably use that. Again, I use that with my preschool kids and my 2.5-year-old, but that will be something that we can use when we're talking about some of the art history and things too. And another one's actually a kid's book, but we also love it. This is for my preschool and my 2.5-year-old as well. But this is ABCs of art. And I think this is so clever the way, I think they have a 1, 2, 3s of art or something too. But it's A is for apple, and then it has very small amount of words. And then it has a painting, and then it says who it's by and what it's called. So this is just another thing that we can reference. Of course, with my 10th grader, we're not going to do the, the reading part, but we can use this to look at some of the pictures that maybe aren't in some of the other books just as a reference. So I did want to share that just so you could see some of the things. And also if you're incorporating any of these with younger kids, those are good references as well. So we covered drawing, we covered painting and art. So the next thing that I want to talk about, let's see if I can slide it over without dropping everything. Okay, so the other thing that he's going to be working on is handwork. Now, for those of you who don't know the Waldorf philosophy, there are 7 lively arts that they focus on, and we don't do all of them in school format or whatnot. Some of them are things that you just do, throughout your day. But there are the 7 lively arts, which include some of these things. Obviously there's 7, so this isn't all of them, but there's, drawing, sculpting, painting, handwork or woodworking, and theater, singing, music. So those are some of the other ones. I won't go through all the 7. I can do a separate video on that. But one of the things that he's going to do is woodworking, and we're doing it in 2 parts. So these are gloves and little finger protectors for woodworking. I did go ahead and get him a carving blocks kit, and it comes with a kit and all the sculpting tools and some of the, I believe it's basswood. Yeah, 100% basswood. And so he can work on whittling and carving. And then I did go ahead and get him some more carving blocks, and it comes with some more, it comes with the official knife set. This other one is for like some of the more fine detail. But these are, these are both by JJ Care. I did find them on Amazon, and so with the 2, it's everything he's going to need for whittling. And then I did find this book, 20-Minute Whittling Projects, and it just has things that he can work on. Now, the cool thing is he can keep these on his own and arrange them in his room or whatever he wants to do with them. But I did notice that there's a lot of animals, and we do wooden animals. So I kind of thought it would be fun for him. He absolutely adores his little brother. There's a 12-year age gap between my kids. So, you know, I've got a 15-year-old and a 2.5-year-old. And so I thought if he had something that he could turn into little wooden animals, which my son, my 2.5-year-old loves, he could make things for his brother. You know, and then there's other projects in here that he can make as gifts for, you know, for people or things like that. And so the explanations in here are fantastic. They do start very simple and then they work their way up. You know, right here we've got notching, measuring. So since he's doing geometry this year, woodworking is going to be fantastic to use his hands, but also be able to use geometry and things within that. So I thought that they would correlate really nice. So yeah, that's just some of the, you know, the images in there. And then, so that's all the whittling part of it, but within woodworking, my dad, we all live together, and they were working on our bunny hutch together. So he's already started that, but I also found life skills as high school electives shop class. And so I can link this below. I found it on startsaT8.com, and it has a bunch of projects to create a woodworking toolkit, things to have in it, visit a lumber yard, how to measure wood, how to sand wood, sanding block, understanding grit, how to stain wood, how to build a birdhouse, and there are YouTube video links that you can go to, how to build a bookshelf, how to build a table. I think that's it. So those are just a few of the projects that he's gonna work on with woodworking. And then I also found this book on Amazon. It's Woodshop 101 for kids. 21 woodworking lessons, teach the basics of woodworking, 14 woodworking projects for parents and kids to build together. Now I'll kind of show you. This has actual lessons, and so it starts at the very basics and works their way, talks about, you know, cross-cut box, but it works their way to very challenging things, making a pencil holder. You know, there are pictures. It is black and white, but it's detailed enough that you could definitely tell what's going on. There's some patterns in here on how to make different things. It does tell you in the beginning some of the things you have, and I believe we have everything that's needed for in here already, but if not, I'll go ahead and pick up anything additional that we might need. So that is his woodworking or handwork aspect of it. And I actually have a couple projects in mind that I've been wanting for us to build, and I don't know if anyone is familiar with like Sarah's Silks. They have a play frame that you can clip the silks to, and it's just square pieces that are connected together, I believe with Velcro strips. That, you know, you could build forts and things like that with. And it's a little pricey, but it's also simple enough that it's something that I think my 15-year-old and my dad can, you know, build together. And so that's one of the projects. Maybe some play stands. Again, if you're familiar with Waldorf, you have probably seen play stands. So there's a few projects that I think will be fun, and we'll see which ones we get to and which ones we don't, but he'll be working on that, you know, throughout the year also. Now, one of the other things that I went ahead and picked up, which is not pertaining to the arts, but it is an elective, is Foundations in Personal Finance High School Edition for Homeschool. And this is by Dave Ramsey. I don't know if anyone's familiar with Dave Ramsey. He has an adult version that my husband and I have done, and it's fantastic. They have a middle school and they might even have an elementary school. I can't remember. But for sure they have a middle school edition and a high school edition. And it teaches all about personal finance and things. And my son will be turning 16 next January. So, and here in Nevada where we live, you can get a job at 16, and he is very eager to get a job and you know, be making more money than just what allowance he gets. So I thought, what a perfect year to do a personal finance before he goes ahead and gets a job. But this has all different sections and you know, lessons that you do. There are some videos that you watch that correspond, and that's what's in here. I believe this is DVD format. Yeah. So, which we'll probably just watch it on our laptop. Yeah, so he'll be doing that. And I'll link that below as well. And then the last elective that he's doing this upcoming year is Spanish. Now, we started working on Spanish a little bit this year. However, we were doing like Duolingo and a couple workbooks that I had found on Amazon. And I have to say, I was a little disappointed. It wasn't very, it was okay. Duolingo, I think, was the one that was the most okay, and we might actually still incorporate Duolingo, but I don't think that it was a standalone Spanish class. And so we went ahead on Rainbow Resource, and I picked up these, and it is by Life Pack, and it's Spanish 1. Now, how it works is this thick one is the teacher's guide, so I can follow along. It has the answers and things like that in it, and different things to incorporate from the videos. It basically tells me how to teach this. And then these small ones are the workbooks. Now, my son gets very overwhelmed if he has a textbook that looks too humongous. He looks at it and he's like, oh, this is gonna be terrible, it's too much. So I did like, in the past we've used a few other programs that had the small, you know, the small workbooks, and it has a lot of them, but you only have one out at a time, and so it looks more manageable. So if you have a student who, you know, gets overwhelmed or whatnot, these are great. But yeah, so it is, you know, this is the student book, and there are, I believe, 10 of them. Yeah, there's 10. And I just marked it out with, you know, I want to complete this in the month of August. This is September. This is October, just to keep us on track as far as, you know, how quickly we want to get them done. And if it works out that way, great. And if not, then we'll carry it over to the next year. That's fine too. But we'll try to follow along, you know, as much as we can with trying to achieve these in the time frame that I'm hoping we do. But yeah, so this is all of the workbook aspect of it. And then, you know, so it's quite intense. It is definitely for high school. I believe they said that this is 7th grade and up, 7th to 12th, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so it has some tests, and all of the answers for all of these are in the teacher's guide. And then it does also have CDs that you can follow along, and it'll tell you when to use those, either in the teacher guide or in the student book. And so we're really excited to try it. And Duolingo, I think, will be a good, you know, addition to that, but I don't think that it is a standalone. So hopefully this will help us get through some Spanish so that he can do a language. And that's it. That is all that he's doing. Oh, I'm sorry. One more thing. So on Wednesdays, he has a guitar teacher who comes and teaches him guitar. So that's another arts. He's been learning guitar all this year. And so next year he'll continue. And so we've got drawing, painting, woodworking, guitar, personal finance, and Spanish. So that's all the things for this upcoming year for the electives. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you were able to see some things that could, you know, give ideas or inspiration for electives for, you know, a child you might have. A lot of these can work for, I'd say, you know, 5th grade and up. Some of them, the drawing, I think could be all ages, because they do have the first workbooks that, you know, are 1 and 2 that are a lot simpler, and you could work with an elementary student on that for sure. So I think all of these are really all ages, and you can just tailor it to work with the age, you know, group that you have. Or if you have multiple kids, the great thing about this is that all of these things are things that you can do with all of them. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I would love to hear feedback in the comment section below. We'll see you next time. Bye.